as of now, we are recording this. So if you don't want to be recorded, you need to get off, because this is it's being recorded so that we can share it on our social media and website. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do is really introduce you to someone who we at DAA think of as a friend and a very well-known doctor and speaker, and that is Dr. Al Power.
Thank you, Laurie, and thanks everybody for thanks for the sound of applause. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining this discussion. I think it's just a great idea that Laurie and Chuck had to bring this to us. I do not want to talk for a long time. I thought I'd just give you a little bit of basic information, and then what I really like to do is open this up and let Mike Belleville is requesting. And if you're not speaking, if you mute your phone, that keeps the background noise. Good to see some people I haven't seen in a while. Good to see our Canadian friends on here too. Just a little information that I've gleaned. I'm a geriatrician. I'm not an expert on infectious diseases, and I don't know if anyone's an expert on coronavirus 19, because it's kind of a new phenomenon. But I thought I'd just give you a little bit of background that I've gleaned from a couple of recent webinars this week. I sort of boned up a little bit. And then I just want to, after 5 minutes of that, just open it up and hear what people are thinking about, what your concerns are, what questions you may have, how you are coping, and what tips you might have to share with each other of things that are working for you as well. So COVID-19, as it's called, is a new strain of a common family of viruses called coronavirus. Coronavirus is responsible for a lot of common colds we get. So we've been getting coronaviruses for a long time, but there are different strains emerging. The SARS strain that came from the birds back 7 or 8 or 10 years ago was a coronavirus, which was more common in Asia than it was in the United States. But this is fairly new to us, this new one. Some things I can tell you about it. First of all, for those of you living with a diagnosis of dementia, there has been no evidence that getting a coronavirus infection will give you cognitive decline or accelerate cognitive decline, assuming that you don't get serious medical complications. Obviously, anybody who ends up on a ventilator or problems like that, the rare piece of people that do, there could be other medical complications, but having the infection itself does not accelerate dementia as far as we know. It does, however, have psychological effects. Too noisy to the rest of the house. Anyway, I was saying that there can be delirium in severe cases, which can affect you, and that the most contagion occurs starting a couple days before you get sick until 4 or 5 days after you get sick. It can happen before or after that time, but that's when people are most contagious. And so, for example, if you're around somebody and they come down with coronavirus 7 or 8 days after you were around them, probably you're not going to catch it from them because it was too early for them to spread it. And there are some people that don't get sick much at all. We haven't found them all because we don't usually test those people. We test the ones who look sick, and that's why sometimes some of the estimates of complications and mortalities may be a bit high, because we're only testing the people we know are sick. There could be people walking around with minimal symptoms who don't bother to go to the doctor because they just reckon they've got a cold. And that is particularly true in kids. So we have to be a little bit careful with kids, because kids don't feel sick. So they can spread things a little bit more readily than the rest of us who are staying put when we feel down. The spread is mainly what they call droplet spreads. So we get droplets from our nose or mouth, and they are spread around. That doesn't mean that it is strongly airborne, because it's not. If someone sneezed or coughed right in your face, it's possible you could inhale it, but the main way droplets are spread is by landing on surfaces and then us touching it, and then touching our face without washing our hands. So the main thing is still, like the common cold, good hand washing and good protection of contaminated surfaces. It can last for a while, the virus, on surfaces. So on a metal or plastic smooth surface, the virus can remain alive for a couple of days. If it's fabric or cardboard, it's not so long. It only lives for maybe 6 to 12 hours. But once again, if there are surfaces you suspect being contaminated, it's good to keep them disinfected. That includes counters, tabletops, but also doorknobs and door handles. Don't forget phones and laptops. Anything we touch a lot are the things we have to keep as clean as possible. If you're going to get sick, there's three main symptoms that are more specific for coronavirus. And that is number one, a good fever, usually over 100 to 101 or over 38 Celsius, if you're following that. The second is a dry cough, not a lot of sputum, but just a dry nagging cough. It's more than you would get occasionally because you're dry, or maybe you had something to eat and swallowed a little too fast, but it's a nagging dry cough. And then the last one is muscle aches. And people with more severe infections sometimes can get a bit short of breath as well. And that's a sign that maybe you need to seek medical attention if you're just treating yourself. It's less common to get things like headaches, sore throat, coughing up mucus, or GI side effects. So in spite of all the toilet paper panic, this is not a GI bug. And there's really not a lot of reason, unless you're out of Kleenex and need something to blow your nose on. There is no, I know there's a lot of stuff on social media, there is no proven treatment yet. There are some trials going on with some antiviral drugs, with some anti-AIDS drugs, with some anti-malaria drugs, and some other things. And they're showing some possibility, but nothing is definite. And the ones that are showing possibility still really need to be given early on. So we don't have anything to promise. And the people are working on a vaccine, but once again, that has not been developed yet. That's still in progress. Fortunately, we have a lot of people who are chipping in. We have a lot of other companies that make other materials who have abandoned their main product and are making hand sanitizer and similar products. We have people, electronics firms, who are building additional ventilators and breathing supplies because they know that that's what's needed now. And I think it's just a really great sign that people, companies in our country are stepping up and really helping out with this. The last thing I'll mention is that I was on a wonderful conference call with Ann Basting, who's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And she was talking about how she uses improv, theater, and creativity to engage people living with dementia, including more advanced forms of disability. And Ann talked about the main rule of improv is the idea of yes and. So if you're doing an improv comedy skit and somebody goes in a certain direction, you don't say, no, that won't work. You say yes and you build on whatever the person says. And it's a great technique for people that have trouble expressing themselves because of dementia, because no matter what they say, there's no wrong answers. You take it and you go with it, and you create a strength-based approach. And Anne suggests we also create a strength-based approach to all of these restrictions, because we know that we're more isolated now. We know that there's a lot of fear out there. We know that we can't connect the ways we used to. So she said, let's say yes and. Okay, I can't go to the mall anymore in New York State. Yes, and these are ways I will get what I need. I'll shop online. I'll FaceTime with friends. So use these rules not just as a barrier, but as a way of stimulating our creativity. And it was great to hear Karen Love say, Karen Love, who's Executive Director of Dementia Action Alliance, who's on our call. If you didn't hear her before the hour, yeah, give a wave there, Karen. And there will be information going up on the DAA website, which is daanow, daanow.org, about fun things to do. And thanks to Mike Belleville, who's also on the call, and some other creative people, we're working on helping people to find ways to stay a little bit more sane during all these crazy times. This is going to be a different life, probably for a couple of months anyway. Nobody knows how long. The curve needs to go up and then needs to go down. Things may sputter a bit for a while, so it may not just stop the way the flu stops for 6 or 8 months. We just don't know at this point. And I would be remiss to speculate. I do believe, from what I've seen, that mortality rates are going to be lower than what's is suspected, because there are a lot of mild cases that haven't been caught. And so we're only seeing the mortality of people who are sick enough to get tested. And that's a little bit of a biased number. The guy I heard from Johns Hopkins yesterday estimated it would actually settle out at more like 0.2% instead of the 2 to 3% that we're seeing now. So an order of 10 less. And most people do well. The biggest risks for serious complications are age, particularly over 75 or 80, the mortality rates go up, and also coexisting disease. And the biggest ones are if you have significant heart disease, or if you have diabetes, they do raise your risk somewhat. And those are people who should probably seek medical attention earlier rather than later. So basic medical information, just to sort of get the information at a certain baseline. So you basically know about what I know about this. And now I just like to open this up. And Laurie, if you want to moderate or whatever, I'd just love to hear what's on people's minds. Once again, questions, or how are you coping? Feedback. What are you experiencing? What are your challenges? And what are your solutions to share with your colleagues here online? Because we've got now we've got close to 60 people. There's got to be some good wisdom from this group. So I think I'm going to step back. I see Paula Ann Gordon's hand is up already, so I'll call on her first, and then I'll leave it to someone like Laurie to work the screen and moderate. But thanks for your attention, and if you have questions directly for me, I'll hop back on, but I'm going to mute for a moment.
Hi, I just wanted to share that I put in the chat box the United Way Relief Fund, the phone number for that. And you can enter your zip code and get a list of local agencies for assistance for bills, rent, and food. So that's in the chat box, the phone number for that.
Laurie, what should we do? Shall we use the chat box because there's so many people on?
Yeah, I'm showing 3 pages, so I'm trying to flip through all of the pages to see who has their hand up. So if you could do something for me in the bottom, you'll see a thing that says chat. If you have a question, just click on where it says Laurie. You don't have to send it to everyone, but click on the one that says Laurie and put your name there, and I'll be sure and call on you. So as I'm flipping through pages, keep your hand up, and I'm trying to see who has questions.
I do see a question from Marie Martinez saying, can anyone share tips on how to support an anxious loved one with Alzheimer's disease who's living in an assisted living community? Visitation, indoor and outdoor, is no longer allowed. And we're seeing that a lot now, and it's probably appropriate to cut that way back, but it does create isolation. And it does create anxiety maybe for people who don't remember exactly what's going on or why they are not able to see their loved ones. I want to start by throwing it back out there first and see what people have come up with. I see Kim. Kim, would you like to say something? Unmute.
Yeah, so my grandmother's in a nursing home, and unfortunately there's no visitors, of course. I did speak with the staff there, and they encouraged me to have people send postcards, cards, drawings, that type of stuff to the residents there, and they can share them. From what I understand is that the risk of spreading this through the mail is pretty low. So I've been organizing my social media followers to do that. And you can just address them to the residents in general or to a specific person, and they'll distribute them that way.
Thanks, Kim, and thanks for mentioning that last part. I've already had some people say that they got pushback when they suggested this because people were afraid that if kids made cards, they'd spread the virus to people in the homes. As you say, transmission like that is extremely low. Plus, you know, it's simple common sense. If kids are going to draw a card with crayons, have them wash their hands, have them make the card, send the card through the mail, have the people that receive the mail wash their hands after they hold the card. I mean, that's the most you would have to do, I would think.
Thank you. David Watkins has his hand up. So it's David, and then Rob and Kathleen. And then we also have a question in the chat. So David first, and then Rob and Kathleen.
Yes, I want to thank Dr. Al for sharing with us. But one thing I have discovered, very surprisingly, using Zoom so often, how often I put my hand over my face, close to my nose, and we have 5 orifices right here. And I'm really trying to break the habit of putting my hands up here or to speak or listen like that. I just wanted to share that. And wonderful thing about Zoom is you can see that you're doing it.
It is great feedback. Karen might attest, or Jackie or the others that were on the call yesterday. I was catching myself doing it too. And I saw people doing this, you know, holding their chin, and it's just so subconscious and automatic, and some of us do it more than others. I'm one of those that tends to touch my face. So it's great. You're right. The video feedback is really superb.
I'm sure when we play this back, we're all going to be looking at it and going, that was me. Okay, let's see. We had Rob and Kathleen, and then Josh was next. So Rob and Kathleen?
I think regarding the situation in the nursing home, that one thing you can do is, if you know the window of the room, you can go and they can see you.
Floor, but
Yeah.
they're not for floors apart.
That's true.
Your mother's on the fourth floor. I can't
Yes.
reach that.
But I have seen people doing that. Just for,
Yeah. Yeah, my mom's in a retirement community and she loves to watch the birds. So we're just going to feed the bird feeder outside her window. We can wave, she can watch the birds and keep in touch that way.
You know, I'm the tech head. So a lot of these communities have like a solution like It's Never Too Late or Touchtown or Link Senior or something. But, you know, during the times of isolation, natively embedded in those is like your Skype functionality, different video chat stuff. But I mean, my dad runs a large community in Iowa, and that staff is so overwhelmed right now that it's not top of mind. So maybe a quick reminder if you're talking to staff that, hey, we could leverage some technology to do this too. It's Never Too Late is pushing a bunch of announcements out there regarding that right now. So I just wanted to chime in with that.
Thank you, Josh. And I understand Lynetta had your hand up. And please remember, if you're not speaking, keep yourself on mute. If you want to speak, send a message to Laurie or raise your hand. But since there's so many people here, we have to keep flipping pages. So we might be a little behind. But Lynetta, do you want to join us here?
Yeah, hi, good morning everyone. I'm from Dunedin, New Zealand, so a fair way away. But I've worked in residential care for a long time, and one of the things that I think is most meaningful, of course, is food. So if you can continue to supply perhaps some favorite food, some soup, even the sweets, the lollies, the ice cream for this facility that's a favorite, but just all those wee favorite things, they will bring a smile to the face when you can't be there. I'm quite sure of that. So just my idea. Thank you for this.
Lynetta, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. And most of us do like the sweets, so that's a good idea when they allow you to do it. How about some of the people who we can't see? So I'm just going to open it up for a second here and say, if you have a question, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask.
While we're waiting, there's a comment from Karen in the box that her father-in-law has written no in big letters on his hands. So when he reaches up to touch his face, he sees the big no, and that's his reminder.
What are you doing to cope with all the stress and the changes in routine? I think for many of us with dementia, the change in routine really can cause some havoc for us. What kind of things are you doing to cope?
I see Amy on my first page. Amy Schiffs.
Hi, this is little bit of thing, but help me to do for others as I can. So funny thing, I think, with the toilet paper situation, what I've done is I've stacked 2 of them and I put a bouquet of flowers in them and put them on the front doorstep of my neighbors. How funny, I think. 2
That's
toilet
wonderful.
paper
That's
flowers
what
from, I think flowers good, toilet paper funny.
Perfect.
I'm hearing people say that their pets are what is keeping them calm, and I certainly will attest to that. But I like Kim Wolf said, if anyone would like a Zoom visit with one of my dogs or my cat, I'd be happy to facilitate. So I think the pets definitely can help with our anxiety levels. How about some other questions, comments?
I had a question to talk more about what I mean by not touching your face. It's true that the only way the virus gets in is through the orifices that David mentioned before. So yeah, it's not going to go through the skin. However, when things reside on your face, it's just easy for stuff to move around because you might touch your cheek and then later you might touch your cheek and touch your mouth or something. So really staying away from your face, it is mainly to keep away from your nose and mouth. But the truth is, if you can just keep your hands off your face, you just lower the risk that much more. And it's just, it's maybe a little coarser instruction, but it's just, anytime you put your hands up there, there's always a chance something could get in. We also have a comment from Danielle. They try to stay active, go for walks, distancing, using the treadmill. Dance party, is that like a virtual dance party that you're talking about maybe?
Mary also had her hand up, I think.
Yeah, Mary, I saw your hand up. Let me unmute you there, Mary. Hold on just a moment. Okay, go ahead.
All right. One of the things that I have done is started to write haiku, and it has been really therapeutic for me. So haiku is a Japanese poetry. It's only 17 syllables, and it's 5 syllables on the first line and 7 syllables on the second line and 5 syllables on the third line. And I cannot imagine that this would have been so helpful to me. It's almost been like therapy just to get it down on paper. So right now I'm in the process of packing and moving to a smaller apartment because I need to financially. So I don't have anything out, but I can just say the haiku that kind of got me started. A friend who is a hospice chaplain on the West Coast sent me or put online, would anybody like a grief journal? And my husband had gone into memory care not very long ago, and it was like, gee whiz, that would probably be really good for me to write this down, although I've never been able to do a journal or to stick with it. So when she sent me the journal, she sent me a haiku blessing. And the haiku blessing was, may this be sacred. May these writings be holy. May you find healing. And that just really touched my heart. And that very night, I woke up in the middle of the night with 2 haiku completely formed. I don't know where they came from, but I had a notebook by my bed and I wrote them down, and I thought to myself in the dark, I thought I'll never be able to read these in the morning, but I did. And since that was just before, probably before Thanksgiving, and since then I would say I have nearly 200 haiku that they just started pouring out of me. I think partly because it was the holidays and that was so difficult and horrendous that they just started pouring out of me. So I don't have anything here that I can read that I have written, but if anybody is interested, I'd be glad to email them to you. So that's all I can offer for now.
Thanks, Mary. Before you go, someone was asking if you know where we can get those grief journals. Do you know where the source of those?
Well, actually, what she did was it was just paper that she folded together. And then she wrote me a blessing that she included in with this. So it's really not, I called it Alzheimer's Grief Haiku. And so that was just what I was doing right then. And then in February, so that was only last month, wasn't it? They had locally, before all of this started and we couldn't go out, they had a open mic on love. And someone suggested that I read some of my love haiku. So it was like, I didn't think anybody would even be interested, but people have found it interesting and useful, I guess. So I made another little booklet that I called Alzheimer's Love Haiku and read that in the open mic. So I'm glad to send it out if anybody's interested, if you think it would be useful, or if you know somebody who is going through the grief of having a loved one that has some kind of cognitive impairment, I'd be glad to share what I've done.
Boy, Mary, you know, we have a lot of DAA podcasts, and I'm just thinking to me, a podcast where you could read some of your haiku and explain where they came from and what they mean to you might be a wonderful session that we could think about during this time when everybody's sitting at home.
Okay, I'm up for it. Well, exactly. I'm moving this weekend, hopefully. And I'm in the throes of boxes and bins all over the place. But sure, I think I was on Laurie Scherrer's Alzheimer's Speaks,
Great.
And read some on there, but I'm willing to do it again, a different platform or whatever.
Yeah, just a couple quick catch-ups from the chat box. Danielle said that what they do for dancing is they put on music through like Spotify and then dance around the house, which is great.
That's great idea.
Roger mentioned the importance of pets in his eyes, is Bernie, his wonder cat. And True also says, Mary, that she has missed Jim and Dementia Mentors, and would love your email if you'd like to send it to Truthful Kindness so she can stay in touch as well. And
okay, I'm not really sure how I get in touch with you, True. So
if you are willing to share your email in the chat box, then people could pick it up there.
Okay, will do.
Al, let me just explain that now, because we have a lot of people that have come on after our announcement. So for those of you that popped on late, welcome to Dementia Action Alliance and our dementia discussion. We do have our discussions every Thursday. If you would like to be included on the email list for future notifications, please go to the chat box, which is at the bottom. Click on the chat button and then select to send it to Laurie. That's me.
Okay, I have a couple of things. The first two things are to answer your question. Number one, I found, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, a site for chair yoga. Now, I'm disabled, so the idea of having chair yoga available was great. But this woman that did it, she did it in nature, in a nature setting. And I found after watching it for a half an hour without doing anything. No, I didn't do any yoga. I was very relaxed. It just had an effect on me that was really positive. The second thing, and this is probably more to my liking, is I've been writing a book on myself, a biography, autobiography, and it's now like 150,000 pages. And every day I go back and there's something else that I remember. I'm old. I've been around for over 70 years. There's a whole lot of things that have happened. And if I just let my mind work a little bit, I remember things. And I watch television and something will come to mind. Or I talk with my wife and something will come to mind. Or I'll do something, and I'm pretty active. I'm an advocate. So I do a lot of things, and every single time I have these little tiny pads, and I write down whatever it is on it. And when I get home, I get to my book and I write on it. And I have a bunch of kids. I've told them that they can't read it until after I die. So they have this huge amount of information about their father that they're not allowed to access. And it's fun. I recommend it for anybody, not just my book or the way I've written it, but the way you write it. You write about you. And share it later.
Great advice, and what a great way to productively reflect and use your time to share things for others. I'm also intrigued by your mention of what the effect that the chair yoga video had on you, and I wonder if anyone out there is using nature sounds, meditative music, or types of meditation to help you be less anxious during these times. Is anyone using any of those things?
This is Mike Belleville. I've been drinking Corona, no pun intended.
Yeah, I heard a debate as to whether the coronavirus, you're supposed to drink more Corona or avoid Corona and drink anything but Corona. Did you come up with a solution to that yet, Mike?
I like your first choice better.
Okay, other questions or comments on how you're coping and how this is working? Pauline, I saw your hand, and that's all I saw so far. So Pauline.
Karen Love also after Pauline.
Oh, Pauline and Karen.
I just wanted to wonder, I was just wondering if other are as disturbed as I am with the, I'm disturbed emotionally by the atmosphere of the fear and the people. You will go out and people are afraid of you. You know, everybody's afraid of everybody. I mean, it's a very uneasy, go in a doctor's office or something, everybody just It glares at you. If you cough, you get a death glare. And it's and the stores, where everybody is hoarding. I don't have any hand sanitizer because there's none around. And how am I supposed to stay clean? And how can people, this mentality of this hoarding is just really, I'm finding it very depressing.
This is Karen, and I saw that Sean also had his hand up. In the chat was a question about where you can find the chair yoga. And I'm not sure where Len did, but we've been in touch with an online company called Spiro, S-P-I-R-O 100. And they have all kinds, 78 or more. There's chair yoga, there's chair exercises, there's meditation, there's mindfulness classes, there's all kinds of things. And for the next 30 days, they're offering it for free, sort of as a public service. So it's spiro100.com. And we have checked them out and they're very good.
There's a message in the box from Arlene talking about Alberta in Canada. They have not closed down all care centers to family members, but they have also removed home care to provide respite for care partners. So what's happening in the US with regard to home care? It must be hard for people living with dementia and their care partners in the community. We have always had a tough situation with home care because there are a lot of holes in the safety net. And so I wonder, I see Sean's got his hand up. I may have jumped in on him. But I wonder what people's experiences are.
And also we'll do answer Al's question, and then we have Chuck, then Roger, then Sean, and then we had somebody that Mary Beth. Okay, so Chuck, Roger, Sean, Mary Beth.
Mine is kind of what I haven't had too much of a problem, but kind of going off what Paul Ann said. The other day, we made the mistake of going to the store, and it was so bad with, there was hardly any stuff on the counters, and the lines were halfway through the store, and I could just feel myself getting anxious, more anxious, to the point that we did finally leave. I told Bobby that I couldn't go back there if it was going to be the same. I mean, people were just bumping your car out of the way and just so rude, and it just was not a good feeling. So luckily the big stores here in Las Vegas, and I think in Nevada, have given seniors time slots where they can go in and shop. Like here, it's going to be from like 7 to 8 in the morning, or from 7 to 9 in the morning, that people over 65 are able to go in and do their shopping. So you might want to look into that as far as, getting away from the hustle and bustle and the craziness that's out there.
So Roger, did you want to share some things with us?
As in me?
Yeah, Roger, I think you put some notes in the chat that you use your Google Home.
Yeah, I use my Google Home for everything actually, but there was mention of what's the word? Nature sounds, relaxing music, that kind of thing. I use my Google Home for that when I go to bed. I just simply ask it for nature sounds or relaxing music, that kind of thing. And I also use it all the time for reminders. I imagine people here struggle with memory, or some do, and it is probably the best tool I have ever used. I use it constantly, so I thought I'd share that with you.
Whoops, thank you. I do that also, and I agree with you. There's some pretty awesome music out there, and actually my dog loves to listen to the nature sound meditation music. She loves it, so it's good therapy for animals as well. Okay, I'm looking at the list. We had Sean, then Mary Beth, and then Mike. So Sean, you're next.
Well, hi. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and supporting what you're doing to get through this. One of the things that I really love is meditation, and I incorporated that way before I even was diagnosed. And that's one of the first things I do in my day, and that really helps focus my day. But it also gives me the opportunity to implement new things into my life. And this time, with all this extra availability of being by yourself or being with families, is opening up new doors of how we're relating with one another, and how people are not relating with one another. So, it's like, I understand people hoarding, and it's like, I think of myself, because it just happened to be toilet paper, but toilet paper, I don't drive. So when I go out, there's two things I always buy: coffee and toilet paper. And I've been doing that for like 3 years or whatever. I have a lot of toilet paper. Just accumulated, and it's like, I can slow down now. But thank you very much for all your assistance and guidance.
Thank you, Sean. And now everybody knows Sean has lots of toilet paper, so when you run out, ask him to mail you some. Okay, and Mary Beth, you were next, and then Mike.
Hi there, this is actually Dawn Baxter, Mary Beth's partner, although Mary Beth is right beside me here. I just wanted to add a couple of comments. So I'm her care partner, and she has dementia. So we're finding these times a little extra stressful because our first grandbaby is due any day now. So it just added another element. We are in self-isolation, but it's just added a completely different element to what they've called this, crisis, with not being able to be there for our daughter and not being able to be there when our grandson is born. Of course, this is a monumental event that we were looking forward to, but we do understand that, safety and health first, but it still doesn't make us any less sad, right? So we are definitely in self-isolation, something else that we're kind of not used to, because we're used to helping others, and we have an elderly neighbor who relies on us quite a bit, and we're not able to help her in those type of sense, like going out and getting her things or what have you. But we do call people, we do check in with people, we do Zoom extra with people. I think Mary Beth has taken this opportunity to get some extra sleep, and I think backing up from the news and social media, taking a break from all that is essential, that we should all be doing it, because it just then heightens everything. There's a lot of false information out there, but we need to stay informed and educated. We both realize that. Mary Beth is spending extra time with our puppy, who is her sidekick, which is great. Walking him, but making sure nobody else is around. I'm getting some extra help in the kitchen, which is always nice. The weather has been cooperating, so Mary Beth has been the pooper scooper and doing things that need to be done outside, getting that fresh air. Yeah, so I think those are things that we have been doing to kind of weather this storm. Anything else, Mary Beth, that you wanted to add? Do you think that that covers it?
You got it all.
Yeah, so I think social isolation is definitely, smart for us to be practicing, but it is very difficult. And I know myself, like Mary Beth is getting extra sleep, whereas I'm getting less sleep because I'm kind of the wound one out of the two of us. So anyway, but this extra added with the baby being born, maybe of course, now I'm getting emotional. Sorry. If there's any support that Dr. Al Power or anybody can provide us out there, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dawn, for sharing that. I know a lot of people are going through what you are at this point, and I think there are a lot of resources. And I heard a good expression the other day that I'd just like to share before we jump into Mike, and that is that maybe we shouldn't be using the term social distancing. Maybe we should say physical distancing, but staying socially connected. And the great thing about technology and things like this is that we have ways that we can at least keep in touch this way. Karen, you were talking about, Karen Love of the DAA, maybe having a check-in. Would you like to say something about that? Don't want to get.
Thank you, Al. That's
I'm getting in the
perfect.
queue. I'm getting in the queue. Sorry, Mike. We'll get to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we had our monthly board meeting yesterday and brought up the idea of having a standing daily time to have a Zoom line open for anybody who wanted to just drop in and socialize. What would you all think of that? Do you like that idea? I'm seeing some nods. Is this a good time of day? 1 p.m. Eastern? Yeah, I'm seeing some more nods.
Karen, can I
No.
offer? I'll put my email address in the chat box.
Okay.
And because it's impossible to see all 70 people at one time. So I'm going to stick my email address in the chat box. If you would please respond to Karen's questions, let us know time of day and what your email address is and whether or not you'd be interested, then I'll make sure and pass them all to Karen and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, just so we would have a fun place to convene and, you know, just get together. So thank you for your feedback. And thank you, Al, for bringing that up.
So we're back to Mike, and then I believe Amy was after Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that obviously this is trying and everything else, and we don't want to Pollyanna anything, but I think this is a perfect opportunity for those of us living with dementia to show everybody else how we live. I mean, we're not quote unquote self-isolated, but to some extent, a lot of us are already doing what everybody else is being forced to do now. So we could use this as an opportunity, instead of saying, oh, welcome to my world. I mean, we could show them and educate the public on how we live our life every day and how we're still staying engaged, how we're still staying active, how we're still being positive, and how we're still living a good life. So why not use this as an opportunity to educate everybody else? And instead of, and again, I'm not Pollyanning it, don't get me wrong, and I know there's some challenges and everything else, but you know, try hard not to be woe is me, and instead say, what can I use to show this, to show everybody else, including my own family, how I live life every single day. I would love to see if people could take the time and journal something during the day of what it is that they're doing, even if they recorded some of the things that they're doing. Then we could compile that in some way and throw it out to the media and say, hey, you know, here's a group of folks with dementia and they're still living their life positive. And perfect segue to Dr. Power about technology. I'm a tech geek. So, I mean, I think technology, it's forcing people to use technology more than they have before. And I think that's a great thing. And lastly, if people have phones or tablets or things that they're not using anymore, things like that can be repurposed and donated to an individual who may not have it so that they can use it, even though they may not be able to use the cell phone as a cell phone. They can still, if they have Wi-Fi in their house, they can connect it to Wi-Fi and still have access to things that they wouldn't have had access to before. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. And that would be, it'd be great to see more ideas of how people are living and coping and all. Okay, I had somebody send me a reminder, and that is that sometimes seeing the little Hollywood squares can be very confusing for some of us living with dementia. So I want to tell you how to get it out of Hollywood squares. In probably the right-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a little box, and it might say speaker view or gallery view, or it might just be a bunch of little squares. If you click that, it'll go to speaker view, and then you'll only see the picture of the person that's speaking. So if Hollywood Squares is getting you confused, just switch to speaker view. Thank you. Let's see, next we had Amy, and then Len, I think you had your hand up. So Len, you're after Amy. Go ahead, Amy, and thank you.
As far as following up on the idea of technology, just a helpful hint, if you have cable TV, you can go to YouTube and you can get a lot of yoga there. So you could take the yoga one that works best for you. They have lots of different ones. So if you have cable TV, that's really a good thing. Secondly, to follow up on Mary Beth and her partner, it's important for us not just to throw down our real problems that everyone has for this virus. And a baby is huge, and huge grief for not being able to do what would be planned. I can speak to this. My daughter's wedding's been canceled. So it's important for me personally to give myself permission, even though this virus is huge and people are dying. For me personally, my mental health, I get to acknowledge that I have some grief beyond, for me, the virus.
Thank you, Amy. And I know we all have our challenges just by living with dementia and what we go through each and every day. And one of the reasons we wanted to hold this discussion is we've heard from many people who their symptoms have been increased because of the stress and the changes in routine. So I think this has been an excellent time of support and sharing. So thank you very much for sharing that. And I'm so sorry about your daughter's wedding too, and the baby. I have on another chat, we have someone whose mother is in hospice. She's in a care facility and she's any day now and they can't go be with her. And that's all so hard, just so hard. Okay, Len, you were next.
Okay, I have a couple of things. I'm from the far north, called Canada, for those that aren't or unaware of it. We have this group here called the Dementia Advocacy Canada, and Mary Beth is the leader of it. Now, the item that Ms. Love mentioned is something that we started, or Mary Beth started, not me. That Mary Beth started with her partner, with her. I almost said corporate partner, but it has to do with the Dementia Advocacy Canada, and we're calling it a cafe, a conversation cafe for people with dementia. Now, I'm so enthused with it that I'm advertising it to everybody because I think that everybody should pile on, if you will, or pile in. It's a grand opportunity. I'm not sure, but maybe it was Michael that talked about the variety of different positives from it. I have a long list of them, so I'm not going to repeat them. The second thing deals with the inability to associate with people that you love. I have a large family. I have 6 kids, and almost 10. No, almost. I have 9 grandchildren and one to come. They come here, and I can't associate with them. So I sit on the second floor and I talk to them down the stairs. I think there's a way to do anything that you want to do. It takes maybe a little bit of creativity. Maybe care partners can help, but just, and not making it orders or demands, but just letting people's minds free. You can find ways to do things. You know, I mean, I really do. I have a question too when we ever give it time. I want to ask everybody something. So when there's time, all right? Those are my remarks. And the Conversation Cafe is a wonderful idea.
let me just feed on that a little bit there, Len, when you said we can do anything if we set our minds to it. When we started dementia discussions 2 years ago almost, we heard from many people saying, well, how are you going to have a cafe online? Well, you know what? We've been doing it for 2 years, and now, you know what all the businesses are doing now that they don't want people in the office? They're doing Zoom. Well, hey, we might all have dementia, but we were way far ahead of you, some of you Fortune 500 companies. Way far ahead of you. Okay, other comments, or do we want Len to be able to, Len, go ahead and ask your question, then we'll go back to comments.
I have children, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. I have 6 of them, and they're all terrified because I'm old and decrepit and got all these weaknesses. My system is weak. That they can't come, they can't bring the kids, they can't. They're terrified that one of the other kids that bring their grandchildren to see me is going to bring that the COVID into the house. I'm not worried about it, but they are, and I want to know how to eliminate their fears. If anybody's got any ideas out there, you can throw them at me for a dozen, by the dozens, because item 1 won't work, and item 3 may, and item 7 won't. So I'll go as far as 25. So just keep firing them at me. And my email address is Len, L-E-N, Carter@bell.net. And I'm not ashamed to give it out. Every one of my emails got it anyway. So you're only just a small group of people who have it.
Okay, Al, do you want to answer part of that question? And then we have Chuck and then Mark.
Yeah, I don't, it's you're right. There are many possibilities, and none of them is perfect for anyone. I think partly just letting your family know that everybody's doing everything they can. Some people are going to get sick, but most people do okay. And just remind people that the best way to try to not spread it is to just be careful about washing our hands and using those good universal precautions or good hygiene, procedures with each other. But that people get sick from all kinds of things, and nobody should feel like it's anybody's fault because this is like the cold. They go around, and many of us will probably get sick and not know who it was that we got it from. It could have been the grocery store. It could have been something we touched in our travels. And I think I know just how they feel, this feeling of guilt that, oh, I'm the one that made Grandpa sick, that kind of thing. But just to let people know that these viruses, they jump around, and we do the best we can. But it's nobody's fault when people get sick, and that we're just all there to work together to help each other to heal as best we can. I'd love to hear some other suggestions, though. Maybe you've had these conversations with your family members.
Well, Mike, kind of piggyback on what Mike and Lenny have been saying. I think that a lot of us, when we look at something and we're used to having to accept we can't do something one way, so we look for a different way, and kind of maintaining that even now with not why can't I do this, it kind of goes back to how can I do this, whether it's online or looking through the window or whatever. Kind of try to keep things positive and not look at it that you can't do something, but try to find a way to do it. It may not be the best way you want, but there's still ways out there to, communicate with family and view everything and get messages, to people, let them know that you're thinking about them, whether it might be just sending them a text and let the care providers know that you're sending it so they can see it, so that you can communicate with everybody, and because the worst thing that can happen is just not communicating at all. So if you just take that aspect of how can we do this, you'd be surprised what you can come up with.
Thank you, Chuck. Everybody, thank you for your patience. I'm really trying to keep up with everybody, but at one point we had over 75 people on, so it's getting a little interesting. So let's see, we have Mark, and then Carol, and then Creaky. So Mark, Carol, Creaky. So Mark, go ahead.
You talking to me?
Yeah, did you?
I didn't have my hand up.
You did.
I might have had it touching my face, Doc. So,
Uh-oh.
you know, powers never really had helped me at all. I just ended up getting a little sillier. So, Creaky, go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of us live by routine. I have to live by routine. I have 2 alarms for everything I do. And what is scaring me right now is the fact that I've lost a lot of my local support, not dementia, because there's no local support with dementia, but for other groups. And then also this whole technology thing. I literally use my laptop for Zoom only, for Dementia Mentors. Everything else is on this little tiny cell phone. And when I leave one page, I have no idea who I was, what group I was in, who I was talking with. And the fact that we are now, and also meetings changing, because I've got to reset the 2 alarms to go to another time. Anyway, I think a lot of us know what I'm talking about. That is the thing that's upsetting me the most is, you know, losing my socialization even on online, you know, for me, maybe not getting the right code or, you know, that kind of a thing. And then the other thing real quick is my mom just turned 89. We kind of are a partying family. I chose not to go last week, and was talking to my niece day before yesterday. It's about 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And they said, oh, I'm giving Grandma a facial, but don't worry, we're using hot water. And I'm like, you know, just that whole education, like education for us with dementia, it needs with this COVID. I just couldn't believe it. I now sent her information, but you know, that's all. Thanks.
Creaky, thanks for sharing. And I think I see Sean saying he's got a question.
I was waving hi to Creaky because she's my girl, and I love when she shares. She shares from the heart, and she tells it like it is. And when things are going bad, that they are, and you believe it. And when things are going good, get out of her way because she's building more.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for sharing. I know I've seen my husband has an immune deficiency disease, and the immunologist actually called us and told us, you are not to be around people, period. And although I love our home, the fear of knowing something could happen to him, and they told us quite frankly, if he gets it, he will die. The fear of knowing something might happen to him causes a lot of anxiety and stress, and you tend to just listen to the music and take the dog and go, I'm going to pet you whether you want me to or not. It can get very tough and very challenging. So Creaky, I know my heart's with you because I know it is tough. Jackie, I see your hand up. There you go.
I just wanted to share one possibility with everyone, and that is when I had a circle of friends with elders in an assisted living community, I used to take them through this opportunity. And the opportunity was everyone was to close their eyes and take their spirit, their soul, to the place that filled them with serenity and a sense of calm peacefulness. And we were in a living room, you know, in an assisted living, but everyone was told to go where they chose to go. And then we would share where we went? Well, for me, it was always one place. It was finding myself on a totally empty beach, just like a lake, not nobody there, nobody. Beautiful sunshine, and I'm just walking barefoot in the sand, perfectly content. Someone else went to a mountaintop, someone else went traveling. It worked so beautifully that the few times I had to go through like a medical procedure or something, I would do the same thing. And the doctor would say, I've never seen anyone so calm, so peaceful. And I said, well, that's because I take myself to a place I want to be. And, it's not meditation, but I think every one of us can think of a place that they want to take themselves to and just feel a sense of serenity.
Thank you, Jackie. I want to see myself back at the DAA conference where we're allowed to hug each other again, because I miss so many of you people. We have Mike, and then I think we had one other, but I don't know who it was. So if you had your hand, oh, Carol. Mike and then Carol, I understand you're back on. And thank you all for sending me the note saying so-and-so has their hand up. I appreciate it. Mike Belleville, Matt, yes. Take it away.
Okay, just as a reminder, just don't forget to laugh. And I'll share a story real quick. My sister-in-law's sister works for a very, very, very large, world-renowned financial company. This happened yesterday. She's working from home like everybody else. She's at her mom's house taking help to take care of her because she had a hip replacement. So she's on Zoom in the meeting, dressed from a suit from the waist up, wearing pajama bottoms from the waist down because you can only see from the waist up. That wasn't the problem. The problem was during the meeting with all these high-level executives from all over the world, VPs and everybody else, walking behind her is her father bringing a commode to her mom. And all these people are watching her dad in his pajama bottoms, walking around with a commode. And everybody just busted up laughing. So it's just as a reminder, don't forget to laugh. But number two, if you're on Zoom and you have a house full of company, don't forget what's coming up behind you. But it may make you laugh. So I just thought I would share that with everybody.
Thank you, Mike. That was awesome. Carol, you're next.
Well, one thing, I recently broke my hip 4 weeks ago, and I'm getting along just fine. I'm waiting for the physio to come back and tell me I can dump the walker. But that's what's used up most of my time lately.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I hope you get to healing really soon, Carol.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have their hand up? Thank you. Roger, go ahead.
If anyone out there likes contact sports like boxing or taekwondo, karate, whatever it is, if you want to get some practice, go to a Costco and pull out the package of toilet paper they have in their cart. You'll get lots of practice.
My brother told me yesterday he went to the store and got the last package on the shelf, and he said he wanted to call for a police escort to get back home again. I also posted above, while we're thinking of other comments, that I've heard that several museums, like the museums in Paris and several US museums, are now posting their art, lots of pictures, and also giving virtual tours. Also, there are several symphonies, Seattle Symphony, the Berlin Philharmonic, are also putting on virtual concerts. So there are ways to connect to the arts that the different arts organizations are making available to the public, since they can't do anything together. So I thought I'd mention that as well.
You got any links for that?
Not right on me, but I have a couple I can send to Laurie, and maybe you can share with the group.
Hey, this is
If we're
Karen,
not for a few minutes, I'll see what I can find.
and I want to share, I do have some links. If you go onto our website, daanow.org, Mike Belleville has just put up this beautiful piece, and if you click on it, you'll go onto a page that has all kinds of engagements, and this Google Arts and Culture is all sorts of museums, art galleries, concerts, famous place tours. So with this one connection here, you can peruse. I mean, each one of the sites, they all have a number of things to look at. If you just want trivia, we tried to do a nice blend. So it's click on the direct page, the home page from our website to access all of these.
Have you shared a link for that? I'm losing track.
I can put it in the chat box for you.
Yeah, please. Thanks.
Sure.
I've actually put a link to it on Facebook as well as LinkedIn, and it will be going on Twitter as soon as we get off the call.
Oh,
If anybody follows me on any of those sites.
I do, Michael. I'll check it out.
I know you do, my friend. Great to see you, sir.
And we're, of course, always interested in more. So if anybody finds some more links, feel free to let us know, because the more the merrier, of course, right? All right, any other comments? And we are over time, but we decided that this time it was important to let people talk. While you're thinking of comments, I just want to once again say that if you are interested in being added to our list that we email you each week and let you know what our discussion is, please send me a message with your email address and your name in the chat box, and I'll add you to the list. Now let's see, I know that Len had his hand up, and I think that's it. So Len.
Just a small note on the public online music. Ashley McIsaac is a violinist of repute. I'm not going to say whether it's good or bad, but he's having a online folk festival from the East Coast of Canada, and you can get a hold of it by looking for his website. So, Ashley McIsaac.
I see a note from True also that some of the Broadway shows are going to be available for a while online. And I don't know if it's included, but this might be your only chance to see Hamilton without mortgaging your house. So I would definitely check it out, because some of the prices have gotten pretty outrageous on Broadway.
Okay, thank you, True, and thank you, Al. And let's see, Josh, I understand you had your hand up.
I did, yeah. I just wanted to kind of follow what everybody else was saying there. Make sure and check the websites for your favorite musical artist or musical group, because some of them are going live and broadcasting some music. I know Zach Brown Band is talking about it. There's some other ones that, I mean, the band name isn't really appropriate to say out loud. So, so just keep an eye on your favorite groups and artists and stuff. So they might be doing something.
There is an online format for house concerts and cafe concerts that ask for just a donation jar, and musicians make good money. People get to hear the conference. If I could just also, before we close, just pick up on something somebody mentioned earlier about maybe not spending too much time on social media. It's a great way to connect, but do be careful about the overflow of information. Other than Josh that mentioned that. And look at the source of where you're seeing things. So if you see something that comes out of the CDC or the WHO or a major university, great. If you see something that is, the reference site is something like science is the best or something like that, then you might be a little bit suspicious about whether that is as accurate. So once again, there's a lot of stuff floating around out there, and a lot of it is not correct. And if you have any questions, check in with me or with Karen and Jackie or anybody for fact checking. We're happy to do that for you.
Okay, let me think. Josh, and then Rob and Kathleen.
I already went, but I can throw one more thing in here. Out here, it came across our Nextdoor app that people are, I mean, the scammers are already out on this, and they're calling and offering tests, and they're trying to get your social security number. So just be aware of that. Be very careful if anybody calls you and asks for anything or offers anything like that. Just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Josh. Rob and Kathleen.
I was just going to say that first of all, hi, Carol. And shoot, what was the time? Oh, yes. You can also check out Jan Arden, for instance, is doing online concerts.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. I think this has been I'm sorry, Sean, is that yes or is that bye? Okay. Len, and then by the way, what Sean was doing, this is sign language clapping because people don't hear. So this is sign language clapping. So we'll get ready to do that before we get off. But first, Len, we'll turn it back to you.
I was waving, saying goodbye. Thank you very much. It's been a slice, and I hope to be back.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just want to thank you all and say this has been a great time. Has everybody enjoyed having Dr. Powers on?
Thanks, everybody. It's been great to be here, and thank you for sharing your ideas and your concerns. It's been, I think, Lynetta was on from Alzheimer's New Zealand, and I was just thanking her in email for being part of it. She said things are just starting up over there, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And I said, a conversation like this, to me, is one of the best fear busters out there. And the more we can connect and talk like this, I think the more healthy it is for everybody, whether living with a diagnosis or supporting people. This is just a wonderful forum. So thanks, Laurie, for bringing it all together for us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks, Mike.
You might mention tomorrow nights as well for people that want to come back for more.
Yes, we do. We have one tomorrow night because we started out with over 75 people on here. So we ask that you check in tomorrow night if you want, but if it's this crowded, please jump off so people that haven't been on one yet have an opportunity to express themselves as well. So that's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Eastern time. I think you all got the email. If not, send me an email and I'll make sure you get it. And other than that, and the recording will be posted within the next couple days. You'll see it on YouTube and on our website. So all these wonderful, tonight, I'm being told tonight it will be posted. I take it that's sign language for tonight. Really, it's not, but I got you, Mike. It will be available. So feel free to check it out and please share it with whoever you would like to. And again, our website is daanow.org. So thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see. Oh, one more question. Do we want to repeat this same type conversation in 1 month? I see many yeses. Okay, Karen, is that okay with you?
And remember that this show happens every single Thursday too. So even though it may not be an open forum, there's something to hear from Laurie and Chuck every single Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Absolutely. We have something every week, and I don't have the schedule up right now. I'm sorry, but we have a discussion every week at this same time. So please feel free to join us. And that's it. Have a great week. See you all next week, I hope.
Be well, everybody.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Connecting our lives to help us survive, so we live our time to